welcome to this special IslandStats.com Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Baisden. Joining me is Gledman Roots Phillips, Edmund Johnson, and Dominique Brown. We're going to be talking about an upcoming event next week, Sunday, March 26th, which will take place at the Whitney Institute Gymnasium. Good evening, each and every one of you. Gledman, can you just give us an insight of what is taking place on the 26th inside the Whitney Institute Gymnasium, actually getting underway at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Well, Zanjiru Bermuda Karate Do, we've been hosting this particular tournament for the last 20 plus years, maybe more. The tournament this year is held at the Whitney Institute. The doors open at 9:30. Show starts at 10. We'll be showcasing various different martial arts events. But what can I say, Earl? I mean, hosting a tournament like this is a privilege for me, but it's also a privilege to have the Shoto Cup production, which is led by most of the schools in Bermuda. Master Edmund Johnson, which is here with us, is the host, does most of the production of the tournament. And I'm pleased to say that over the last year or two that the tournament has been held under these guys. We've been very successful and look forward to having it again.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Mr. Johnson. I've seen over the last few years a big improvement in the way these tournaments are run and hosted, the layouts and everything. How did you come up with the idea of helping to improve something that was going along so well?
Well, actually, I had been putting on my own teachers tournament in Michigan for about 10 years prior. So I was already doing events in the States. And at the time, I was like, why can't we have nice events here? Because Bermuda's beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. But the organization just wasn't there. And let's say we have the talent, but the production wasn't there. So they're not looking at the way things look and feel. And then the athletes, at the time, early on, the medals were about that small, red, white, and blue. Now, we give them actual awards that are recognized around the world, and people say, okay, well, Bermuda's really doing it. Bermuda's worth going to actually compete down there.
And well, let's welcome in Dominique Brown. Dominique, you've been competing in this particular event and others for quite some time. Give us a sense of your experience in the Shoto Cup and this event here coming up.
My experience has been very well, actually. It is very organized and it's a lot of fun. The community's great. We have seminars prior to some of the tournaments with people that come in from away. Like recently we had a man named Brendan come in and work on us with kata. We have another guy come in with kumite, which is fighting, and he helps us with certain things in teaching, like how they would do it out in America. So it gives us a good experience on how things are done, not only here, but away.
And Gledman, one thing I notice a lot is how mixed some of our people are. When I say mixed, they do, as Dominique just explained, kata, they do the mixed martial, they do many things. How much more concentration does it take to be a well-rounded martial artist as opposed to just one form or one element of the martial arts?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I'm gonna pass that question on. I'm gonna pass that on to Master Johnson, because what we're doing, listen, these tournaments are professionally run now. Gone are the days where we used to have everybody was mixed up. You had the kung fu against the karate and so forth and stuff like that. But what we have done is, I'd like to thank the Federation for that, is we have separated the kung fu part of it from the karate part of it. And so I probably said too much. But Master Johnson, can you break that down for me?
Yes, so I can, let's say, okay, let's go back to 2020. Post us coming out of COVID is when we did our first event, which was a old karate kata event. Now, why was that event real important? It's because at that time I was setting Bermuda up to have a karate NSGB. Now, as you know, in order for us to get our status from the World Karate Federation, the WKF, we had to show that we were having karate only events. Now, if we were to start mixing things up, we would lose our status, lose our world affiliation, and that's really, really bad. So for us, they had to see, okay, well, somewhere down in the upper or lower Caribbean, these guys are doing it right, it's organized, and we don't see any mixing. That's why, like Dominic said, I brought on Brandon Abdullah, Brian Hilliard of Team USA, and which is ranked, is the top 10 in America, in the world, as far as his weight division. So, but it was important for us not to mix anything anymore. Those days are completely gone. So now what you'll see someone who does karate exercising many facets of the discipline. So you see Dominique, she may do kata, then she may do kumite, and then she may do kabuto or kobujutsu. Now, for her to be an effective athlete, we may have to focus on one thing. As she gets older, we will say, okay, well, if she wants to go to the World Championships, we cannot dedicate time to both. We have to split it and say, okay, you know what? She's either going to be focused just on kata or just on kumite. And that's what every athlete kind of has to make that decision. But Bermuda Karate Federation, we've gotten good at our long-term athlete development plan. It's put in place. We've literally almost finished it twice over now. So we know that things, they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, at what point in time do you, or should the parents and the people in charge of whatever dojos are going to decide what the athlete should concentrate on the most?
So that normally happens when the aspect of fun becomes secondary. When eating becomes primary, but not the total focus, right? Because you still want them to have fun. But when they say, I want to do or I want to work at, once you heard child say they want to work at something, then it's up to us as instructors to invest the time to make sure they're successful at what they want to do with guidance, right? Because, a child could say, I want to be a fireman on the moon. It's not going to happen.
And let me ask you, Gladwin, because I've actually been to one or two of your classes, and I see how you have a mixture of young and to adults. A balancing act of a training session when you guys, and I'm going to ask you the same thing, Edmund. When you're looking at making sure that everybody's getting the most out of a training session, and you have that gap variety of young and old, young and seasoned, how do you balance that out?
That's pretty easy to balance out. What we do, right, is we can see the progress of the students and what we want out of the students. So first of all, we at our school, we have some really good kata people, we have some really good kumite people, and the balance would be that I would be, or our instructors would be, this guy looks like he's going to be a really good fighter. And so what we would do, we will concentrate more on kumite with him than more on kata. Now, striking the balance is that, we have quite a few students, and everybody gets a chance to excel in what they want to excel in, right? Let's take Dominique, for instance. Sometimes you have people that are well-rounded. You're trying to strike the proper balance of it. It's just like Master Johnson said, at some point, what we have to do, we have to say, okay, Dominique, we're going to have to just keep you as our kata champion, and still do your kumite, but put that on the side for a minute, so that we can make sure that we have the students excelling in exactly what they want them to do. So the balance would be, we would have to find out the strength and weaknesses and work on that.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask Mr. Johnson the same question, because although you might have the same ideas, but it's executed in different ways. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yes, it is. So, like, okay, so for me in my school, so right now we're talking about karate. I actually don't teach karate. I teach taekwondo, but I have a vested interest to see that karate does well on this island because I have benefited from it.
Mm.
But as far as teaching and the the pedology of teaching is that for us, everyone starts with everyone, each one teach one. People get inspired by seeing good things. If you see a student that's really, really good, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a parent or a student in the room that's going, you know what, I want to be like that person. I want to focus and get to where they are. If you have a class of all beginners, right, they're all going to grow at the same rate. That's why you have to mix it up. Put a black belt or 2 in there just to kind of mix things up to get them going, that sort of thing.
Mm. And Dominic, let me ask you, because during the COVID period, you've done a lot of online competition. Tell us about those experiences and how you managed to make your way through that period.
It was a process, to say the least. It was, some were very unorganized at first. Starting out, it felt harder with having to worry about, is the internet working, how's the weather. Like, there were days where I was out in the pouring rain doing my kata or self-defense, trying to get points for crazy athletics. And it was a lot of things I wasn't used to. Like, they had creative, like my mom put me in creative weapons, creative kata, a bunch of things I have never done before, which expanded like my horizons, how I view karate completely, and has helped me be a better karate person ultimately. And as we kept going on with those tournaments, going through some that were bad, some that were good, you realize how it changes and how things work. And as you get more used to it, it becomes easier over time.
Now, have those type of competitions stopped? Because they seemed as if you were able to compete against so many other people around the world, despite you still being in Bermuda. But have they discontinued those, or do they continue them?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the larger bodies, a lot of the larger groups have actually, they've started to discontinue them because you need face-to-face. Like you need in person. Like for us, we don't really do a lot of the crazy athletics and creative stuff. We stick to more or less a traditional format because we want that type of competition to aid these guys. If they ever want to go to a world championship, they will already have the points and they will know the format.
So good, Glavin.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments from Master Johnson. I mean, during the COVID days, I mean, it was something for those kids to do to stay active in karate. But if I had to speak for it, those days are kind of like over now, as far as I'm concerned, because in person, as opposed to being online, is totally different. I for one encourage some of my students to do it, but it wasn't something that I was solely for. I think a lot of them just stayed active that particular way. In-person karate is as far as I'm concerned, is the fundamental way to go.
Sure. So Edmund, back to Saturday, next week Sunday. What could one expect if they were to venture to the Whitney Institute?
Oh man, you're gonna see some great athletes, man. Listen, we actually get to see a rivalry on field again. So we have these 2 kids. I mean, the other kids in the division, they do very well, and it is getting very competitive. But between Dash Bailey and Lucas Frias, for the last 2 years, they have been battling back and forth. They battled so hard, I created an actual league for karate so I can match the points up. That's what we call it, the Coral League. So you're going to see a lot. I mean, the adults, the smaller kids, those are the snappy ones. You have Noah Lowe. I mean, these guys, they get in. The quick, the fast, and they don't give up. Sometimes you see some turds, 25-year-olds, but they keep going. They don't stop. But I will encourage everybody to come out because, listen, our people, like locally, this support, this is all we have, right? For karate to grow organically, it needs to have just more eyes, right? We have it set up now where it's a great venue for yours. I don't know why people didn't use Whitney, but Whitney is the only place that has stadium seating.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I look, I'm going to say it like this. When you walk into that hall, you are walking into a place like you're probably at the World Championships. I mean, it's professional. The banners are set up, the ring is set up nice. All the judges and anyone that's involved in that particular production is dressed decent. It's first class. And so just like Master Johnson said, if you haven't come out on to either participate or to watch any of these events, I'm encouraging you, come out, watch the youth, watch the adults, watch how it's run, and you'll see a first class event.
Okay, so you're starting at 10, gates open at 9:30, starting at 10. What time should the entire day be over? And what is the schedule? When I say schedule, what is the format of, because you've already indicated that you're having karate, you're having well, you can explain it.
Master Johnson?
The forms. Sorry, the forms.
All right, so what happens? We have kata first, and we always start with the black belts first. So in previous years, people would start and they had the black belts go last. I was like, hold on, I'm been already putting on the tournaments for years. We always had the black belts go first, because while those kids are still fresh, they have to see our very best come out first.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're gonna be like, hold on, I think I'm gonna show out. So that's the format. First we have our kata, and then we have our kabuto, which is our weapons. And then after that, we have ippon kumite, which is a faster style of kumite. So normally it's who has the highest lead, but the ippon kumite, you only get one shot. The first person to hit wins. That's it. And then we have our normal WKF kumite, which is about two 2-minute rounds.
Okay. And yeah.
Master Johnson, what are we going to have after that? Because we do have some other events going on.
Right. So after the karate program is finished, there's going to be some matches put on by the Bermuda Sancho Association, and it's going to be, I think it's mostly fighting and forms.
Okay. To make it a full day of what we would consider martial arts.
Right, but they wouldn't cross over. They wouldn't mix together. So you would see, post-pandemic competition.
Okay, all right. Well, let me ask Dominique. Dominique, what events are you scheduled to compete in?
Everything.
He's not even wrong either.
I signed you up for everything.
She's gonna stay busy. She's gonna.
Actually, yes, I'm doing basically everything except Ippon.
Now, okay, so let me ask you this question. What, in your age group, are there any other females, competition-wise?
Yes, I am doing with the adults now, so I am going against my sensei, Talia Iris. I'm competing with her, and when you Grand Championships, I'm going also against the older men, and if made to Grand Championship round. So I'm competing with the adults now.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess, Roots, that's a good sign that she's now progressed to that more challenging, because now she's saying she's going to be it's teacher versus student.
Right. So we actually have I know she said Grand Champion, but we actually have a combine round now. So it's the top first finishers out of the advanced adult division and the advanced intermediate youth division can actually go head to head. So if she makes it that far, she will be our combine champion. Now, if she gets enough points that day, she'll win the Shiai Cup. And that's a perpetual trophy that we're hoping goes another 27 years.
And basically, she gets points for every competition she enters or every competition she wins. So
she gets points for every event. So the Coral League is set up to where we have, on the table, we have our database set up. It's got everyone's names in there. When they hit that podium, the data's already entered. And that gives me a clear picture of who's going to win that day. And then at the end of that, I upload it that night to our database, and you can go on the Shuttlecock website and you can see your points as an athlete, what you got for that day and what you have for the year. Now, this does go to something at the end of the year, the end of our season, because our season runs from September to July, right? That's our competitive season. And at the end of that, we normally do an award ceremony. Last year, we did our first awards, and we had Dash Bailey, one of our Sensei Roots students, win the Youth Overall Athlete of the Year. And Talia Iris, another one of Sensei Roots students, win the Adult Female Athlete of the Year. So these points.
Well, let me ask, because your students were the winners last year, I'm glad. How much more of an incentive is this program that Johnson has kind of put together? How much of an incentive is it for the athletes in your camp to now even want to be involved in more events, as well as making sure that they're tight on their skills?
Well, we have a couple of other youngsters that are eager to make it to that podium and get the athlete of the year. But let's go back to what Master Johnson had said with the rivalry that's going on with Dash Bailey and Lucas Frias. I mean, these two guys, they both want to win the athlete of the year. They're both competitive. They're both really good kids. They strive on trying to win. But like I said, we do have some other younger athletes that we're probably going to showcase that at one particular point or another is going to be coming up there.
Okay.
Yes?
All right. Well, let me just say thank you very much to the three of you. We look forward to being in the house on the 26th. Next week, Sunday, inside the Whitney Gymnasium, beginning at 10 o'clock. Let the show begin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
All right, let's take it easy, everybody.